Welcome to WYCD Wicked, that stands for What You Can Do. It's your old pal Jake, and it is a 2 for Tuesday. That means this is the second live stream that we are doing today. If you are wondering, where's the first one? Well, it's already uploaded on the VOD. You can check that out, but I recommend you do it after this stream because one of the things I am passionate about is promoting content you might not have seen. That includes content that I have only recently come across. To that end, we have two channels that I bet most of you haven't seen that have fantastic content. Consider it an opportunity to see some new voices, to hear some new voices that you haven't heard before. One of them is a viewer suggestion. Teri Kanefield is the creator. I apologize, I've misplaced my notes, but it was suggested in the live stream yesterday that we have a gander at Teri Kanefield. I'm grateful for that suggestion. It was dead on. I love her content. I'm going to be disagreeing with her a little bit in this upcoming clip, but it is nonetheless worth checking out because she brings up a lot of points I hadn't really considered. We also have Jon Stewart, who I'm sure you have seen, the comedian and political commentator, just shredding Fox in a well-deserved way. I think it's worth looking at what he has to say on this Fox fiasco because it helps put this all into the bigger picture. This has not been a problem that suddenly arrived in 2015. This has been a problem for years and years and years and years. And we are just now finally in a place where we must deal with the consequences of it. But of course, he keeps it humorous, and that is needed in a political atmosphere wherein we have to deal with some of the worst news imaginable. Then after that, came across somebody who is doing my thing. That's right, they have my shtick. They're out there telling people what they can do about problems. And you know what I think about that? Awesome. That is awesome. I think we should help them out as much as possible. Her name is Fully Melanated. She's out there on this clip telling people how they can get rental assistance. Folks that are in danger of losing their homes, she's telling people how they can prevent that from happening. I'm going to show you as well because it's great information. I'm going to share with you the links she shared. I looked at them myself, dead on. And I'm going to recommend strongly that you all check out Fully Melanated. Consider this the first plug. There's going to be one at the end as well. Many at the end when we look at her content. But let's start with this viewer suggestion. Teri Kanefield is an author who periodically uploads video essays to YouTube. Every couple of months, it looks like she puts something out. I looked through some of her content, and baby, every one of it, fascinating. Every video is a smash in its own way. Here is our viewer suggestion, Teri Kanefield, discussing what Plato has to do with the right-wing advantage in messaging. It's an interesting take. Let's have a look.
Hi and welcome. You probably clicked on this because Plato's in the title, but you'll have to wait for the good stuff because I'm going to start with political.
I'm going to tell you, Teri. If you're watching this later, and I'll be merciful and switch this. If you're watching this later, I clicked on it because you were in the title. A viewer recommended you. So you're getting popular, my friend.
Republicans have baked-in advantages. Politico reported that when Trump announced a rally in Florida with Rubio, but not DeSantis, the apparent snub angered some people within DeSantis' orbit who complained that it would mean fewer people would pay attention to DeSantis. This tells us that even with everything we know about Trump's lawbreaking and attempted coup, he is still hailed as the leader of the Republican Party, and the Republican leaders still line up to kiss his ring. A cherished theory has been circulating on social media since 2016, which goes like this. Trump keeps breaking laws because the Democrats are not doing enough to expose his lawbreaking or stop him. Another theory is that the whole problem is that the Democrats are bad at messaging. I propose instead a two-part theory. First, the Republican Party supports Trump because he's a lawbreaker and insurrectionist, and the Republican Party controls an effective disinformation machine.
Okay, so I'm just going to tell you where I disagree with her good and early so that we can contrast as we go along. And I don't want to discount the information she provides in this video. I do think that it's worthwhile, and we're going to listen to all of it because it's not that long of a video, and it's also fascinating. But where we disagree, I think that what she's saying is true, and the criticism of the Democratic Party is also true, and it was more true in 2016. But yes, I do think that Republicans lie because their base wants them to lie. I think that's accurate. I do think it is more difficult to talk about the truth and to talk about reality because it requires dealing with logistics and boring stuff, and you can't just hand wave it as, oh, the Jews are out to get you. Those scary, I don't know, readers of the Talmud. I don't know what's supposed to be scary about them, but they can't just hand wave that. Agreed on that part, but the 2016 Democrats were weak sauce. The 2023 Democrats are slightly less weak sauce. And it's not, you can talk about the broad strokes of a policy and direct people to where they can get the details if they're interested. They do need to work on messaging. It shouldn't be impossible to communicate good governance. And if we really do have that problem, then the argument for liberal arrogance, left-wing arrogance is correct. If we really think people are so simple that they are unable to understand a good message when it's put out there, if we really think that, then the arrogance accusations are correct. And you know what? They partially are. We need to give people more credit than we do. That said, her overall point, I think, is a fair one. It is an advantage for the GOP that they don't have to, they're not beholden to silly things like reality. But my only counterpoint is that that doesn't mean that Democrats have to concede that whenever we talk about policy, it's going to be boring. No, you just need to focus on the same things that Republicans focus on. Do Republicans focus on the details of their nonsense? No. What do they focus on? What they are going to do for the American people. They're lying about it, but we need to focus on the things that we are telling the truth about. So focus on the outcomes rather than the boring structure to get there. That's all I'm saying.
These two things go together. The way to build an effective anti-democratic party is by creating an effective disinformation machine.
True.
Democracy requires truth and an intact public sphere. All the jurors have to share the same set of facts or rule of law won't work. Autocracy relies on myths and lies like this. Vote for me and I will keep you safe from your enemies. You can see right away that the Republicans have a few advantages. Advantage number one, a liar can create great sound bites. The truth is always more complex. According to the messaging has to be simple theory, if you have to explain, you lose. For example, Ted Cruz said, "Why is it only Democrat blue cities that take days to count their votes? The rest of the country manages to get it done on election night." The truth is that more Democrats vote by mail, and mail-in ballots take longer to count because with in-person voting, the carrying and checking happens when the voter votes.
See, Teri Kanefield right there. You're not being boring when you explain this. I think the only flaw in her argument is that she's discrediting how good communicators like her can be. We're just used to seeing CNN Democrats prattle on and on and on intentionally trying to be boring, intentionally trying to be bad communicators, because they know accurately communicating most of their policy, most corporate Democrat policy, will reveal it to be what it is, which is simply more pro-corporate nonsense. I think she's being plenty entertaining with how she's, plenty sufficient with how she's explaining.
Mail-in ballots, the process happens after the ballot arrives, which delays the counting. Most states look at postmarks. Therefore, they accept ballots that arrive late if the ballot was postmarked on time. The Republican-controlled state legislature of Pennsylvania passed laws forbidding early ballots to be counted before election night, enabling people like Ted Cruz to spread that lie.
So here's how you address that, how you make that more interesting. When you're putting that out, when you're on MSNBC or CNN or NBC or ABC, or even if you manage to be a Democrat that gets on to Fox and you're responding to that, you say what she just said, but you follow it up with, why did the other guy feel the need to lie to you about that? Are you telling me that the other guy was unaware of these facts, that there was nobody in their campaign that could explain to them how this works? They're lying to you. Why do they feel the need to lie to you? Because they can't win in a fair fight. And suddenly it's interesting again.
The truth teller then has to explain that Ted Cruz is setting up the Republicans to accuse the Democrats in blue cities of cheating because it takes longer to count those votes, thereby repeating what happened in 2020 and deliberately undermining the integrity of elections. See the problem? Lying is easy. The liar has the freedom to make the lie super interesting and to play to the audience's fears and biases.
And all I'm saying is that the truth teller then has the obligation to make the truth interesting.
The truth is always more complex and nuanced and boring. This brings me to
Yes, more complex. Yes, more nuanced. No, not necessarily more boring. That is where skill comes in. That is where we need Barack Obama style ability to communicate to people with Bernie Sanders policy.
Advantage number 2. Destroying is easier than building.
True.
An anti-federal government movement has been taking root in the Republican Party for decades. In the 1990s, we saw the rise of anti-government militias. When Steve Bannon talks about the deep state, he means the rules and regulations put in place since the New Deal. When Steve Bannon talks about destroying the deep state, he means dismantling the laws that he doesn't like. You can either roll back federal powers slowly through systematic deregulation, as the Republicans have been doing for decades, or you can bring in a wrecking ball. Trump is a wrecking ball. Trump supporters are on board with his wrecking ball tactics because they don't believe the federal government represents them.
She is nailing this. I 100% agree with Kanefield here.
They think the federal government is helping others replace them. The Confederates were opposed to the federal government because the federal government wanted to end slavery. Segregationists were opposed to the federal government because the federal government wanted to end racial segregation. People who want to cheat and steal are opposed to the federal government because the federal regulations put in place since the New Deal outlaw things like money laundering and price fixing. Confederate sympathizers and segregationists are still with us. Now they call themselves Republicans. In 2018, I wrote an article for Slate magazine entitled, "Why Trump Supporters Will Believe Any Lie He Tells." Drawing on research from psychologists, I argued that they're lying on purpose because they know the lies destroy. It's just another way of being an insurrectionist. This brings me to advantage number 3.
Okay, on advantage number 2, no notes. That's exactly accurate. I would only say that does also, though, create an advantage for the far left. The far left has an advantage here because the fears Trump speaks to, the fears these people appeal to, actually are being addressed by leftist policy. And it becomes our job, people who are actually looking at this seriously, becomes our job to figure out how to pitch it in an entertaining way. And yes, we have more restrictions, but we also have one glorious advantage in all of it, which is that the numbers bear out our arguments. So we just need to be as charismatic in our pitches for the truth and just trust that the fact checkers then, when it gets to that point, if it gets to that point, if it comes down to, okay, we are arguing as charismatically as they are, well, when you go have a peek at the numbers every single time, W's for the L's. W's for the lefties.
Their audience, authoritarians,
I apologize for that being forced.
need simple messaging. After World War II, political psychologists like Theodor Adorno asked whether there were authoritarian character traits. In his book, The Authoritarian Personality, from 1950, Adorno described the traits of the authoritarian personality, also known as the anti-democratic personality. Today's political psychologists have continued the work and have defined authoritarian personality as, among other things, having a low tolerance for complexity, which includes diversity and globalization. Political psychologist Karen Stenner calls them simple-minded avoiders of complexity. It should be clear that if you're speaking to an audience of simple-minded avoiders of complexity, the message, Democrats bad, Republicans good, can work. It also seems clear to me that a more sophisticated audience is not going to tolerate that kind of messaging.
No. Let me jump back. Here we disagree again. And by the way, I'm so delighted to disagree on this level. Like, we don't fundamentally disagree about what's going on. This is the kind of political debate I ache for. I yearn for. This is the kind of political debate that makes me so happy. It's a disagreement about how best to help people, how best to show people the truth. Oh, so let me pause this real quick and say I looked through Teri Kanefield's other videos. First of all, this video on its own, incredibly valuable. Before I disagree with the fine points, I'm not disagreeing with her assessment of the right at all. I think it's dead on. And that's ultimately what this video is about. It's more about the right. I'm just saying I have a different view on how the left can react to this, adjust to this playing field. Let me also say all of her videos are informative in some way. All of her videos that I saw, I looked through like 5, I think, brought to light something I hadn't really considered before. When she's talking about Plato as it relates to authoritarian messaging here, I agree. Where we disagree is that for somehow the left can't do simple messaging, and that people on the left will be adverse to simple messaging. I disagree. People on the left will be adverse to untrue messaging. There's a huge difference there. You can say your message simply. You can acknowledge that the issue you're talking about is more complex than you can explain in one sitting even. But websites exist. Go to my website at blank for more. If you want the finer points of your argument spelled out somewhere, cool. Put them on there. But boil your message down to everybody, something everybody can enjoy. She's also, in my opinion, not addressing one other kind of American here, which is also, in my opinion, the most prominent of the voting populace, which is people that don't have all damn day. If you don't, I'll tell you from also a sales background, God help me, red right hand of the devil once upon a time. If you don't understand your product well enough to explain it in simple terms, you're not going to have an easy time selling it. If you can only talk about why X cell phone plan is better than Y cell phone plan in terms of these little contract details that require you to pause and look up the difference every 5 minutes, you've lost the sale because you don't have the confidence in it, and it shows. But if you can speak broadly about it and then answer questions in detail when they are asked to you, that has a very different effect. I would recommend that. I would recommend working on, and I'm saying this for the people who are going to be running for office or talking to people who run for office or advising people or working on their campaigns. It's all plausible with this crowd. make sure that you are pushing for a simplified version of whatever you're talking about. There should be the Cliff Notes version that you can give any American who just worked a 50, 60-hour week. They're already exhausted. They don't want to go do more work, and they don't want to listen to an hour-long lecture, he said 20 minutes into the recording. Boil it down to a simpler message. There's nothing wrong with that. But don't only have a simple policy in mind. Have a full policy in mind that you have a quick pitch for, an elevator pitch.
America has a history of authoritarianism. Slavery was autocratic. Racial segregation was autocratic. The idea that women belong in the home and are basically baby making and men serving machines is autocratic. One thing that has happened as the political parties have realigned is that the authoritarians have congregated in the Republican Party. This gives Republicans yet another advantage. Their audience needs simple messaging. Okay, you might ask, what about moderate Republicans, those who are not racist and who do not cheer violence? This brings me to another Republican advantage. The truth cannot penetrate the right-wing, hermetically sealed disinformation universe. During the first televised hearing of the House Select Committee investigating the January 6th attack, Benny Thompson said, Donald Trump oversaw and directed a coordinated, multi-step effort to overturn an election.
Only thing I'm going to disagree with here, the truth has not penetrated. I believe it can. It can indeed penetrate it. But she put this out 4 months ago, and let's go easy on that. Also, the point she's getting into is good. I shouldn't be talking right now.
Liz Cheney said, Trump knew his effort to overturn the election was illegal and unconstitutional. He did it anyway. It seems to me that Liz Cheney and Thompson can't be faulted for bad messaging. Their messages were simple, clear, direct, powerful. But Jim Jordan responded with, real America doesn't care about the January 6th committee. Gas is over $5 per gallon. Jim Jordan and his Republican friends then went on to blame Biden for high gas prices. Think about what Jim Jordan did. Now, a truth teller looks at the facts and makes sure his statements reflect the facts. A liar ignores the facts and creates the narrative that he wants to be true. The idea is that it doesn't matter what the truth is as long as enough people believe it. For this technique to work in the political arena, the liar needs a well-oiled propaganda loop and hermetically sealed disinformation ecosystem. And guess what? That's exactly what the Republicans have. Now, this brings me to another advantage. Advantage number 5. Authoritarians fall in line. Non-authoritarians tend to splinter. If you have a smaller group, but they all fall in line and do what they're told, you have an advantage over a big tent group of non-authoritarian free-think thinkers. You may still be thinking, yeah, but Democrats can still be bad at messaging. Okay, let's look at some recent examples. On Thursday, a federal judge, Judge Jackson, warned that today the dark shadow of tyranny still threatens democracy as she issued the second longest sentence to a January 6th rioter. The dark shadow of tyranny still threatens democracy, coming from a federal judge, seems to me like a strong message. But nobody's talking about the criminal trials of the insurrectionists, possibly because there are so many that people are overloaded. As of October 17th, at least 928 people have been indicted for participating in the attack on the Capitol. But remember, each time Trump tweeted something outrageous or racist or shocking, everybody talked about it for days. That's because demagoguery works. Outrageousness is rewarded. Demagogues steal the show and dominate the stage. Rule of law and the normal functioning of a democracy is boring in comparison. It's harder for people to pay close attention to boring. Another problem.
Very, very true. It's in its essence, I agree with that argument. It's harder for people to pay attention to boring stuff, and real solutions tend to be more boring. But if you go in knowing that, I think you have an opportunity to spice it up. Doesn't mean lie about it. Just means you talk about the consequences of failing to push the correct policy. I would point out the SVB Bank fiasco. What a great cause and effect, and the difference between administrations. You had policies loosened in 2018 under Trump. We have the consequences now. The very policies that were pushed for by SVB. You can pitch that in a fun way. I'll also say, great job, Teri Kanefield right here. She has pointed out a massive weakness that that Republicans have, because she's right. They don't deal with the nitpicking. They don't deal with the infighting that is truly a core to the left. Case in point, here's a video where I'm praising this gal, and I've been not disagreeing. I've been arguing every little point the whole way. That's an advantage, because when the Republicans put up a policy right now, or when they put up a message right now, it really doesn't matter what the message is. She's right. They all fall in line. But that also means when something like this Dominion suit happens, it's like a organism that doesn't have enough diversity in its cells. It's like those lizards that are all essentially the same lizard. That's going to sound insane. It's like a species that doesn't have enough genetic diversity to resist a disease. It just wipes out their whole point. Another example would be the Social Security fiasco, because they had no way to truly address criticism of it, because they hadn't been approaching it in what they saw as a problem in a very diverse way, and they hadn't dealt with a lot of internal criticism. So that is both an advantage that Republicans have right now and a disadvantage that they have. So long as we view it properly, we can use it to get them, particularly in debate season. We just need to make sure we've got strong debaters up there.
The problem is that we're undergoing a disruption in how we get our information. In his
True.
YouTube video series, Snyder Speaks, Yale history professor Timothy Snyder compares the internet to the invention of the printing press. These rapid changes in how we get information require a period of adjustment as people learn to separate misinformation from disinformation and facts. We live in a 24/7 news cycle in which media outlets compete for clicks, and consumers of news are bombarded with a constant stream of headlines, snippets, and opinions. The result is that droplets of facts are lost in the cascade of irrelevant information and baseless opinions. The two theories, that the problem is that the Democrats are bad at messaging and that the Democrats haven't done enough to stop or draw attention to Republican lawbreaking, have something in common. Both blame the Democrats for Republican lawbreaking.
Ooh.
Now at last.
So, despite all I said, where I was saying that, well, that is true, well, the Republican issue was also true. I'm going to give a big nod to Kanefield here. If you want to talk about where the actual fault lies, no, the fault lies in the bad guys. Yelling at the cops with broomsticks for legs might be a fair thing to do when discussing what went wrong with this bank robbery where the bank robbers escaped. But let's not forget, it's the bank robber's fault still. She's totally right here. It's the fault of Republicans that are willing to lie like this, ultimately. And nitpicking the Democrats, I think, does have value, and I think does make the Democrats stronger. I think that's why we actually have a robust, in the House, for example, you've seen Democrats just tearing the MAGA House members to bits. But she's right. Let's not forget who's actually the telling lies in this scenario. It ain't the Democrats. It really never was the Democrats to the degree that certainly MAGA does it. But I would say that the Republicans have always done it.
We come to Plato. Plato argued that democracy is inferior to various forms of monarchy, aristocracy, and even oligarchy because democracy tends to undermine the expertise necessary for the proper governance of societies. According to Plato, most people don't have the kind of intellectual talents that enable them to think well about the difficult issues that politics involves. Hence, Plato concludes that the state will be guided by very poorly worked out ideas that experts in manipulation and mass appeal use to help themselves win office. In other words, Plato's theory is that democracy is fragile because the person who is an expert in manipulation and mass appeal will win, not the person best equipped to govern. In the words of Angie Hobbs, a professor at the University of Sheffield, Plato's theory of the flaws in democracy provide a chilling account of how democracy can be subverted into tyranny by an opportunist demagogue. It's easy to stir people's emotions. Demagogues have advantages, particularly in the kind of information disruption that we're experiencing now. I talked about all the Republican advantages. The pro-democracy, pro-truth party has one advantage which, if used, will constantly give the pro-democratic party the upper hand. There are more of us than them.
Hell yeah.
People who want democracy vastly outnumber the people who don't, which brings me to this question. Do you have a plan for voting?
Get 'em.
No, we did not commit doggy voter fraud. We had one ballot between us. It was easy because JJ is a Democrat.
What an ending. I love it. Yeah, so I agree on almost all points. I was strong in what I disagree about in the beginning. I do think there is a lot of value in busting the balls, for lack of a better term, of Democrats, particularly when they drop the ball on layups, on real easy political issues. When they fail to point out how Republican legislation hurts America, yeah, you should absolutely expect more from Democrats. If they can't make a pitch for Medicare for all, for God's sake, when there are people that are going broke over medical debt, come on, that's an easy pitch. But all that said, ultimately, I agree with the advantages she laid out for the GOP in that video. I agree with her conclusion. Despite the inherent difficulties in democracy for dealing with demagoguery, there is ultimately more people who are interested in the truth. Even if you look at QAnon, as misguided as they are, as wrong as they are, as duped as as all Q followers are, they are attempting, in their own strange way, to find the truth. We, do need to make the pitch for the truth better. B, need to take advantage of the fact that there are indeed more of us. And C, one thing I feel like was sort of glossed over there is the presence of the internet, the presence of mass communication getting easier and easier. What Plato didn't have in his time was a way for every single person to get every single piece of information they need to be informed. We have that now. We need to take advantage of it. The bad guys who want to disinform, they do take advantage of it. We don't as much. So that has got to be part of our toolbox. The YouTuber is Teri Kanefield. Link in the description to that video. From there, you can check out her channel, and I recommend it. She's fantastic. Good recommendation from a viewer that is highly appreciated. What you can do, show the cause and effect of left versus right policy as it was shown to us through Silicon Valley Bank, SVB. I included the link to the Majority Report's covering of that. In the VOD, I'll include the link to our covering of the Majority Report's covering of that if you'd prefer. But regardless, show that because it's an obvious example of what happens under left governance versus right. Catherine Wolf says, all right, love Teri. We'll have to work her into my journey. Yeah, absolutely. I'll feature her from time to time. She has been added to my list of interesting folks. Really, to get on that list, all you have to do is bring something of value to the conversation. Take an honest look at a problem and give your best pitch for how to solve it. By the way, if anybody has suggestions for people we should have a look at, let us know at wickednetwork.com/contact. We're always looking for more people to feature on the channel. Jon Stewart is largely responsible for my interest in politics. The Daily Show back in the day was the first time I remember as a young lad being interested in the news. Maybe it was the moment of zen. Maybe it was his dry delivery, his humorous inclusion of folks like Stephen Colbert and Stephen Carell. I still remember Stephen versus Stephen. And I'm delighted that the man now is on YouTube preaching the truth. Here he is discussing the Dominion voting machine versus Fox filing. And oh my gosh, he's not lost a step in 20 years. Here he is.
Boy, you know, when you've spent your life screaming at Fox bars and hotels and your house, and then the emails finally come out that say, oh yeah, everything you thought about them is worse than you thought. We're going to be talking about Dominion voting system versus Fox News, the defamation trial that shows you, in the words of the late great Dennis Green, they are what we thought they are, which is the worst. We're also going to talk to Jay Jordan and Robbie Slowick, our writers. What is up, kids?
Nothing much. Kind of dealing with the fallout of what you just described and looking at Twitter after that.
Looking at Twitter after the Fox case.
Yes, and seeing if they're going to talk about it at all. I combed through Fox News and Tucker Carlson's tweets, and I do want to say up top, I didn't see a single Happy Black History Month tweet.
Are you serious, Jay?
Not a one.
Let me tell you something. It's an oversight, and here's why. Because he believes every month is Black History Month, and he believes that why separate it out when that's how he lives his credo.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes, all the producers are talking about Black History Month.
You know what? Happy Black History Year. You know, you're gonna get the emails he's sending to Hannity. Why the fuck are you not talking about Black history, Hannity? We're gonna lose our audience. They're gonna shift over to BET. This is serious. Look at our stock price. This is terrible.
It is funny to see what he has promoted in the sense. There was he had 7 days ago where he was talking about the balloon, and now it's just all his upcoming Fox Nation special on the death of comedy. Yes. And 2 days ago, right back to gender. Yes. Right back to gender.
Well, they're going to go right back to what they do, which is send the emails about we're going to use gender as a wedge issue. I mean, what it reveals is the thing that we have been screaming about for 2 decades, which is this is a purposeful strategy to divide the country and gain political power through fear and lies and whatever the fuck else it would take. We've known about this. Listen, man, I sat in Roger Ailes' office.
Well, John, I want to know, how short was your skirt?
Oh, it was short, baby. Okay. And he said, just his turnaround there. Oh, you are circumcised. All right. And this is what the...
Just for the record, the point he's bringing up, I want to underline for the use in the rest of this. Purpose of Fox is not necessarily to promote one candidate. It is to collect power. That's it. Roger Ailes had a plan that began in, I kid you not, the Nixon era to build up a right-wing media machine. But the purpose is to get and maintain power.
The argument was for a year, which is, you are a cynical bastard who is doing everything he can to destroy any legitimate criticism that might be leveled against Republicans or conservatives, not in an effort to win a debate, but to destroy any obstacles that are in your way to consolidate power. And that is it. Full stop.
It's just wild to watch.
Yeah.
Because terrible journalism, amazing Netflix series. You know what I mean? That's what this feels like. You go,
No, it's
has
narratives. It's narratives.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is truly a soap opera.
And the level of projection around them every single day around all of this type of stuff. The fact that they dedicate hours of airtime to, George Soros is a foreign billionaire trying to influence our politics. And then their inbox is flooded with emails from a foreign billionaire being like, you need to do a better job influencing our politics.
Yes. That's the key. He's not.
Is it not amazing? Let's
Their
phrase
problem
that
with
better.
Soros.
Is it not amazing how bizarre the projection is? Like how accurate the projection is. They are the modern right wing in America is the only group for whom the playground taunt of "I am rubber, you are glue," whatever you say bounces off me and sticks to you, is fully accurate. It works. They literally are complaining about a foreign billionaire manipulating American politics while working for Rupert Murdoch. Wild.
Is how ineffective he is. But by the way, it's not just media. This is part of a multi-pronged strategy. If you notice what happened on the right is any of the institutions in America, and by the way, this is not to say that there isn't unbelievably legitimate criticisms of colleges, media, newspapers. There is absolutely huge swaths where those institutions fall down, fail, need to be improved. But their strategy was, we will devalue them, we will deauthorize them, and then we will build parallel structures, parallel college institutions, parallel think tanks, parallel news organizations. And rather than use them to properly promote a conservative versus liberal debate, we will skew reality and create, and it's The Last of Us. Let's create an army of zombies, and the cordyceps is the fear and disinformation and misinformation. I mean,
completely true. In other words, he's saying they have been working hard. The they being the Republican machine has been working hard to get people as disinformed as possible. And he didn't even include the constant attacks on public schools, the defunding of public schools, switching them to private schools, knowing full well that a ton of their voter base won't be able to go to those private schools. But that's fine for them. That's fine. Because if they go to the private schools, they're most likely getting a Christian right-wing education, which is it'll teach you the nuts and bolts, but not what the machine does. And then, if you go to a defunded public school, and you're from a trailer park which has Trump and Q flags hanging everywhere, it's only in their benefit to make sure that that person grows up with less of an understanding of what's going on around the world. They did the same thing with colleges. They did it with the EPA, not letting the. They did it with the. Not letting the CDC track gun deaths. Once upon a time, the CDC did indeed do that. They don't want information available to the general public because they don't want an educated general public, because the more you know, the less you like Republicans.
It's fucking amazing.
It's just so deeply effective as well. I mean, they've really everyone is fighting for a very small sliver of the population where they get to create whatever reality they want with that sliver of the population.
Well, what you hope is, and this is my only hope, is that finally other institutions that are meant to earn authority by being correct or being smart will finally go, oh, fuck off. And will no longer say, oh, we're not getting the right's viewpoint enough on our network anymore. When they realize that that's not the right's viewpoint, that's the strategic viewpoint that they employ to gain power. It has nothing to do with right or wrong. It has nothing to do with conservative versus liberal. It has everything to do with consolidating power by any means necessary. And they have so worked the refs in the media atmosphere that they're scared shitless. People at the networks and the other cable networks are scared shitless. Listen to the nonsense they spew. We want to get back to objective news reporting and call it balls and strikes and all that. Shut the fuck up and tell us what's going on for real.
Yeah.
And be confident about it. And don't back off because you're getting calls from Rupert Murdoch or that there's a giant audience of Fox News zombies that are calling you out for not putting lies on the air.
So he's switched gears. He's talking about Fox News here. But I would extend that to all corporate media. Anyone who's pining for the days when they could pretend like Mitch McConnell was ever trying to accomplish the things he said he was trying to accomplish, that's crazy. It's simply not an accurate representation of who Mitch McConnell is and ever was. I do worry that there will be a return to those bad old days as soon as the obvious demagogues are dealt with. And I fortunately think that the American public has become savvy enough since then that they will not fall for that nonsense.
Have some fucking balls.
That's the biggest thing that changed over the past 7-8 years is you saw CNN and ABC and NBC have to be like, well, I guess we have to talk about this. And everyone was like, you don't have to. And they're like, no, we have to give a couple of hours. We have to let Rick Santorum be like, this is why gay people are icky. Like there was just so many moments where I'd be like watching. I'd be like, y'all don't have to do this. You want to.
Well, and they've so effectively crafted that narrative that people just say the liberal New York Times in their head. And then you flip through the New York Times. It's like, do we need 4 more wars in the Middle East? Are trans people human beings? And you're like, there's nothing liberal about this paper.
That is the most fun I've been having. Is that like, 5 years ago, Donald Trump would have been like, the New York Times is a shit rag. And now today, all of my friends with septum piercings are like, we agree. We agree.
Yeah. Oh, such a good point. Yes. And speaking to the American people having woken up to this, yeah, the appetite for just letting the New York Times get away with the label of being a liberal rag. Thank God, we've grown up a little bit as a media consuming population.
Thank you, Don, for standing up for them.
No question. The weird thing is, on the right, they have the confidence of their convictions. What they believe is the worldview, and in some ways, it's why they've aligned themselves with Russia and Putin, which is Western civilization is under attack, and America is weakening itself by being diverse and not being Christian enough. And so they've devised this strategy that they employ in all other areas. And it is a strategy, and it is purposeful, and it is absolutely in no way truthful. It's just creating these sort of Potemkin institutions that exist not to create information that helps their cause, but to create strategies that rile up their audiences. They're looking for followers.
It's so funny because 2 days ago, Tucker Carlson was like, Joe Biden hates straight white men. And I was like, you mean that old straight white man hates old straight white people. I don't think that's the case. We're like, nah, because you know who's pulling the strings. They said diversity. They had a picture of Susan Rice up there. It's just
I just want to say, once again, we have an opportunity here. He's saying, and Jon Stewart was saying, and quite correctly, that the folks that are supporting all this craziness believe that their way of life is generally being attacked by these forces they're told to fear. Our pitch, the pitch that people on the sane side of politics need to make and can make quite easily, because now it's much easier to come with the receipts. You can show, here's clip 1, here's clip 2. The pitch we got to make is who is actually attacking their way of life. Because you know what? It's not wrong. That's the really important thing for lefties to grasp. Like somebody got punched in the nose out of nowhere, and they're like, oh, my nose is broken. I got punched. And the guy that punched him said, it was that guy over there. We have to be the people that say, no, it was that dude. In fact, I was recording a TikTok, whatever, and I got in the background. Here's the results. Here's the evidence. Easy ways we can do this. The train derailment. Who voted for those deregulations? Who rolled back those regulations in the first place? Donald Trump. Joe Biden, by the way, still pandering to the middle, didn't choose to side with the employees that said this is going to be a problem, and he looked like a fool. But don't forget who rolled back the regulations in the first place, Donald Trump. Who rolled back the regulations on SVB, Silicon Valley Bank? Well, gosh, if it wasn't Donald Trump. Time and time again, there is a cause and effect, and all we have to do is show it. Be concise, say, here's the guy that caused it. That right there caused this problem right here. Show them who's screwing them over. When they feel like they're under attack, say, yeah, you are under attack. Yeah, there is a group of rich elites that are sucking up your money, and it's got nothing to do with Satan. It's got nothing to do with a secret cabal. It's pretty public, in fact, the cabal you're talking about. Religion ain't got nothing to do with it. Race ain't got nothing to do with it. Sexual preference ain't got nothing to do with it. It is 100% about money. That's it. That's all it is. The rich are manipulating the system so that they can keep on getting richer. And they do that at the expense of everyone else. It is truly that simple. We have to make that pitch.
so weird to see them go, so we have an argument. How do we find the science and the numbers to justify this cultural argument?
They don't need to. And all they'll do is say that, liberal media is facing a credibility crisis. I honestly, my biggest hope here is that they can no longer look you in the eye when they're saying their bullshit. I still think they will.
Oh, yeah.
Because one of their greatest strengths is lack of shame. And that lack of shame allows them to continue this charade. I mean, imagine it's like this. You're in the Wizard of Oz. You've gone through all the trials. The monkeys have flown through. You've finally gotten to the wizard. And they look behind the curtain and they find the wizard. The wizard, you finally realize this whole thing is being orchestrated. And you bust him on it. And then he turns and goes, no, that wasn't me. That's what they'll do. There will be no self-awareness. There will be no, you got me. There will be a doubling down that, oh no, this is out of context and we're not lying and there's not anything. You pull back the curtain and the wizard just goes like, yeah, who was saying all that shit? That's you. Here's your problem. You don't have a heart, you don't have a brain, and you don't have courage.
And John,
okay.
Yeah, completely true. The answer to that is don't expect him to have shame. I'm going to be merciful to Jon Stewart. Don't expect him to have shame. Come in with the facts ready and do what we've done, for example, in the House. Come in with the facts at hand and just annihilate these mother effers. Embarrass them. Use their public embarrassment, their huge, their own popularity, the fact that they will draw eyes to them from their lies to be like, great, you were dumb enough to get in a ring with me. Now I'm going to knock your teeth out in front of all your friends. That's what we got to do. Time and time and time again. Come with the facts and be good at presenting them. It's pretty straightforward. Be concise, get to the point, and don't hesitate to call a mother effer a mother effer. There it is.
Collection of these busted moments already. You know, when they said in court that no reasonable person would believe that Tucker Carlson is stating facts as a defense, which would be a good defense if there was a law in this country that you had to be a reasonable person to vote, but that's not the rules.
How can the legal argument be the same as your worst friend from college? Well, okay, you'd have to be stupid to actually think that.
What if they just go into court and they go like, Your Honor, I'm sorry, my news organization was really drunk. He didn't. Yeah. My news organization didn't mean anything by that. And listen, hey, let's just all go peacefully here. I'm telling you, man, it'll never happen again. I got him. I'm going to drive him home.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about this news organization ever again.
Your Honor, I can't. For the fans, I can't break kayfabe. You know, I've got to. That's
what
stay in character all the time.
By the way, that is, you couldn't be dead on. For those who are fans of wrestling,
that is so perfect. John's saying, I'm going to let him say it.
That is exactly what it is. It is a nudge, wink, wink, little world that they've created where they all had to hold on to it. You know, when you.
In fact, I'm going to. God, they edit so well. I need to take a page out of this. I'm going to let Jon Stewart give me a strange look for the thumbnail here. There we go. Little Easter egg for folks later. I'm going to say that is something you should stick to. A lot of MAGA folks are fans of wrestling. If you just look at the demographics, a lot of folks who watch WWE, for example, vote MAGA. Kayfabe, or kayfab is how I heard it said, is what I would recommend as an analogy for what Fox does. Use that as one of your tools. If you don't know, that's how the wrestlers have to pretend like the storylines are real outside of the ring. They do it in Mexican wrestling too. The luchadors that you never see them without their mask. It's a similar thing. It's to keep the feel of the performance alive. And when I was in middle school, there was a whole bunch of kids that honestly believed that, I don't know, Randy Orton broke into another wrestler's house and beat up their wife, who also happened to be a professional stunt person, and was too tough for the cops to subdue. So now Randy Orton's running around, and the only way to stop him is through wrestling. There was kids that believed that until you ask them, why wouldn't the National Guard then swarm Randy Orton or shoot him like 30 times like we do in America? Why, you ask a couple questions and they go, oh, shoot, yeah, I guess you're right. Same thing here. Like, look, Tucker Carlson can't break kayfabe unless he's in a court of law and he's legally required to tell the truth. You go read MAGA inductee. You go read some of the highlights from the transcripts. In fact, here's a clip from a competing news network talking about what he said in a court of law. You tell me if he didn't say that. If he didn't say no serious person would take what Tucker Carlson says to be true. You tell me if he didn't say that he cannot wait for Trump to be a non-person. Present them with that. And allow them trust that eventually that sort of messaging will get through, because now you are questioning the source of their misinformation, which is exactly what we should be doing.
You talk about defamation. So it's honestly, it's just going to be money. The truth is, when you're an organization that has a loyal audience, you really can't be beat. Now, I could see somehow legally them saying you can no longer have the word news in your title.
Or you have to make it very little.
Yes.
How little would the logo have to be, Jay?
The tiniest script.
I'll tell you a little short romantic story. When I first moved to New York
Yes,
City
Robert, please.
with Casey Ballstrom, who's my wife now. When she moved here, we were just friends.
She is your wife.
She is my wife, but we were just friends when we moved here, and then we slept together the first night. That's an aside. We don't need that detail.
Was that based on the size of the apartment you lived in?
Yeah, John.
I'm going to give this man, because he's a writer for Jon Stewart, I'm going to give this man the credit that this story is going somewhere. Let's find out. It's morbid curiosity.
It really was. It truly was. To celebrate our moving, we went and got a bottle of wine from a bodega. So we open up this bottle of wine, and it is like a rancid, sweet grape juice. It's disgusting. You can't drink it.
Manischewitz. They call it Manischewitz, right?
Basically. So I look at this bottle, and I learned a New York City lesson. You can only buy wine at liquor stores in New York. Bodegas can't sell wine. But what they do is they sell a fake product they can fool you with once called wine product. It looks like wine. The bottle looks like wine. They make you think it's wine. And Fox News is news product. It looks like news. You think it's news, but it's not.
Right. It would be the same if in that bottle of wine was heroin, and that heroin addicted you, and all you wanted was more.
Yes.
To the point where if you saw a different news channel on in an airport, it would make you mad. It would make you mad that this other network would be allowed to broadcast, because they live in the upside down, an upside down that was created to flatter their fears and prejudices. And this wine product that you speak of is now the largest semi-alcoholic brand of wine in the country, and it's killing all of our grandparents.
Okay, so he did indeed get somewhere useful. In fact, that's going to factor right into what you can do. Fellas, well done. Let me transition to the big screen. So what can you do? First of all, that little thing he said at the end there, that's true. Fox News on at the bar, somebody complaining if MSNBC gets turned on. Let's turn that around. At this point, as a customer of an airport bar, as a customer of the Denny's, as a customer of any place, you have a reasonable complaint if Fox News is playing. The other folks are not afraid to say, hey, I don't want to see MSNBC. Yeah, put on Fox. We need to take that and do it ourselves. We need to say, no. Wait a minute. Are you playing Fox News? Are you playing the people who are right now being sued for lying? Are you right now playing the people with a case for defamation that is so strong, it's too simple to be in legal textbooks? No, that's misinformation. That's a well-known misinformation network. Get that off the TV. Be that person. And if somebody complains, great. That's an opportunity to talk about, person to person, the misinformation. Like, look, you can feel however you feel about it. The fact is, Fox lied, and Fox admitted they lied. Save on your phone, on the home screen, save on your phone a link to a website that summarizes it, a news article that summarizes it. Save however it is you save things for fast access. Be like, look, this is what they said. Well, Sidney Powell was on there lying about the election. I don't want this playing in my neighborhood. I don't want this playing in an establishment I'm in. If you really want to change it, you change it after I am long gone. But while I'm here, no, sir. No, ma'am. I will not put up with having that on the TV. That will have an effect. That will have a massive effect, particularly if it becomes taboo to play Fox in a proper establishment, as it should be. It's not a real news network. It should be embarrassing for a business to play Fox. Use that. Do that. We talk all the time about projection, and they whine about cancel culture. But guess what? These people complain if Fox isn't playing. No, there are more of us. As Teri Kanefield pointed out, there are more of us. Let us take advantage of that. Sane people should not put up with Fox being played in a public establishment. End of story. Have the backbone to confront these folks in person. Raise a stink about it. If you are in a place where you're surrounded by Trumpers, be like, all right, well, I'm here. Let's turn the TV off then. I will not do business with you with Fox News playing in the background. Vote with your dollar in that case. But in fact, you can do more. Simply, whenever you get the opportunity, ask MAGA folks if they've heard what Fox said about them. Look, if you tell them to, in an establishment, turn off Fox, and somebody turns to you and says, why would you want to turn off Fox? They're the real news. Be like, well, did you hear what Fox said about its viewers? Look what they said about its viewers. Look what Tucker Carlson thinks about you. To get those answers, because Fox is not talking about it, to get those answers, they will need to go to a real news source. And that will be the beginning of undoing this insane hold that this network full of liars has on its viewership. Expose them for what they are. Look at some of these comments. Oh, what's up, everybody? We got Wireless Mike. Good to see you, sir. George Carlin said basically the same thing back in the 80s and 90s. They don't want an educated public. They want sheep who are just smart enough to push the buttons and follow instructions. 100% agreed. Wendy Evans says divide and conquer is the Republican strategy. Oh, yeah. The real war is a war on truth. Also from Wendy Evans, agreed. Oh, God. Wireless Mike accurately says we'll be cleaning up Trump's mess for decades. Yes, but I think he accidentally gave us the tools to clean it up, one, and to prevent this from going on as it has, number two. I think he accidentally exposed the reality of Republicans to America, and now we will have to do a good job of raking in those people who realize there's something amiss. Patrick Thibodeau giving excellent feedback. Jake, I wish you wouldn't stream opposite TYT's live show 6 to 8 Eastern. Oh boy, I would like to take their show right into yours. Interesting. I love your show. It was one of the first 20 or so subscribers. I remember that, Patrick, and I appreciate it quite a bit. That's a good point. I have been looking for a permanent time slot for this stream. I've also been considering just doing 2 streams every day. But I think I need to poll you guys and find out when the best time would be, because it would be contrary to what I want to do if I were dividing an audience between myself and another major streamer. So yeah, I'll note that. Quite possibly I'll move it. Possibly I'll just add some so that you don't have to pick. Fox News is flavored malt liquor. Damn, that's a good analogy. 100%. Catherine Wolf says, waitress here. I would turn it off, and when asked, I said, oh no, that causes fox rot. I like that. Machine Man. Hey man, new sub, keep it up. Hell yeah, much appreciated. Good idea. Instead of the typical news nonstop, actual advocacy and talks about refining our rhetoric. Keep up the good work, man. Much appreciated. The idea of this is organizing as entertainment. So my greatest hope is that you guys will, discover, I want us to act like a pipeline for great informers and great commentary. But also, if you watch all that stuff and you get a full understanding of what's going on and you want to know what you can do about it, that's when you come to your old pal Jake. Or there's somebody else doing this as well. I just found her while I was looking up Teri Kanefield, actually. I came across, it jiggled the algorithm enough for this recommendation to come up. And you know what? She's doing my shtick. Her name is Fully Melanated. It's Fully Melanated. And she's essentially got the same thing going on. She only has, however, 4,600 some subscribers. Jake, don't you only have? Shut up. But so I would recommend giving her a subscribe if you want to know more about what you can do. Here she is talking about rental assistance that is available to folks in Connecticut as an example of rental assistance programs that are available to people nationwide. Check it out.
So the other day, Connecticut has started a funding opportunity to help people with rent, okay? People who are dealing with financial struggles in order to pay their rent. So like always, the links to everything that I'll be discussing is always going to be down in the description box.
Okay, wait a minute. Did she read my diary? You know I'm going to like this gal. Link indeed in the descriptions. And I have copied those links and checked them out myself. And no notes for Fully Melanated so far, except keep it up, my friend.
Below for you guys to go and read along. So as you see right here, it says the Connecticut Rent Program helps those struggling financially, okay? And here is how it works. Which right here says it aims to help people who struggle financially during the pandemic stay in their homes, because although COVID was a few years ago and although so many people have been funded in different opportunities, there's still so many people who, are dealing with housing situations. Now that the federal has ran out of so much money, because it starts there, right? It starts with the federal. They're giving out all these different funding opportunities. Now they ran out of money, and now they are like,
hey, the states, we gave you guys all this money, so now it's time for you to give it back to the individual.
Okay, so right now the states have so much money. They're like overly saturated, and not just Connecticut, all these states really. You just gotta dig through and find these funding opportunities, because they're always available. They're always here. We just do not know about them.
Not a note, just rephrasing what she said, because it is super important. The states have a bunch of COVID money still. There is an expiration date on a lot of that money. A lot of states, in order to prevent people from accessing that money, because a lot of the legislature there doesn't want it to work, because that would be the federal government showing you how it can help you. That would give people a taste for actually being treated like decent human beings. A lot of them make it difficult or hide the fact that they have these programs. A lot of, go into Democrat criticism, a lot of Democrats have failed in some cases to, I'm doing too many qualifiers, just say it as it is. A lot of Democrats have failed to make it easy to access these. They've allowed too many steps necessary. But that doesn't mean the money isn't there. And the money will absolutely be worth your time. If you're wondering if you're going to be able to pay the rent, she's talking about Connecticut here, but there are also links to national databases of rental assistance. Use it. Tell your friends about it. Post it on Facebook. Just say, hey, if you're having trouble paying the rent, check this out. You might be eligible. Definitely take advantage. Let's let her keep going. The gal, Fully Melanated, is on a roll.
So it says, though the initial program stopped taking new applications back in February 2022, in January they launched the Unit CT Fund. Okay. And again, it says to prevent evictions that has already been in progress. So that is the thing about this one, okay? So if you're in Connecticut and you're dealing with any type of rental issue, basically if you already got that little red slip notice in the mail already about being evicted, then that's where you will be able to benefit a lot from this eviction prevent program. Okay, and they're going to be offering up to $5,000 per household to pay rent owed to landlords. The program is for tenants who already have evictions filed against them. Right here it says, if staying in the same apartment doesn't work out for you, they will be also giving up to $3,000 of the money that can be used to help with security deposit in the first month's rent in a new place. So not only can you have the opportunity to use this fund to pay up your rent, but if you're looking to just go ahead and move out of that place and move into something else, then they will be actually giving up to $3,000 for you to use for that as well, which
Damn it, that's good use of B-roll.
is super, super dope. They're really taking the initiative to use the money that the feds has already given them, right? Because it's their job to help the community, help the economy, help their state, help the local people, right? So they're using this money to give back to those of you guys in need. Like I said, if you don't have the money, or if you want to just go ahead and move out and just forget that spot that you're in, they'll go ahead and take care of all that stuff for you, and even pay up to the first month's rent of the new place.
Let me pause there for a second, tell you about my days working for the devil. Not even those sales days. Look, just assume I've done every other job at some point. Gig economy. Once upon a time, I was a HUD contractor, and my job was to go into homes where the mortgage had lapsed and clean them out. And one of the most depressing jobs I ever did was a couple days after Halloween, and I was cleaning out a kid's room. And there were still Halloween decorations up. And I knew if I was there, it was at least a week after the family was gone. And this kid, who was clearly a fan of Halloween, had to leave their home during a holiday they loved. That broke my heart. If you find yourself, particularly in this new week where we find a couple of banks might be collapsing, certainly SVB did. We might have others, although it seems unlikely. But if you find yourself with a mortgage that is suddenly going to swallow up your finances, if you find yourself in a rental situation where eviction seems imminent, use these links, see if there is federal funds available to you. I do not want that kid's sorrow repeated with anybody else. I didn't feel good profiting off that kid's sorrow. I still did it. So don't think your old pal Jake's an angel. I still took the job, still did the job, and I cashed the check. But if we can avoid that happening, that is better. Use the links in the description to prevent it from happening to anybody else. Share the links in the description on your social media, because odds are there is at least one person in your community who is suffering like this and just being quiet about it because it's embarrassing. Consider it.
Right here it says that you can just simply apply by calling. Okay, so the applications are going to be available online. You do have to call and you talk, but this is a great opportunity for you to see what other funding opportunities there are for you being in Connecticut. Like, what if there's more and you just don't know about it, but you came across this one because I'm giving it to you. You now have a chance to talk to these people and build the connections with the people in your community to see what other opportunities they have for you guys. But this is happening all over right now, and so you have the chance to take up this opportunity as well. And all you have to do is go to this website right here, the NCSHA program. Okay, so I'm gonna leave it. It's .org. I'm sorry, it's gonna be .org. This is the emergency housing assistance or rental assistance. And again, like the other ones, I think I actually talked about this one in a previous video, but as you see, same thing. You pick your state, right? You go by state, and then they're gonna connect you with people or consultants in the area that can help you find funding opportunities for rental assistance to help you in terms of paying off rent, right? As well, also a good website you can go on, I have it coming across the screen, is findhelp.org to find assistance in any or many, for that matter, many different funding opportunities that you may need. Okay, so you might be facing something within your business, personal life, your car, your house, all that good stuff. And findhelp.org always have plenty.
So I just want to stress what she's saying right now is not just rental. It is, as I mentioned, people having trouble with their mortgage, businesses having trouble. Yes, rental assistance. It is people that might need maintenance on their home that is costing them money, such as, what was one of the things I saw in there? Such as like insulation in the attic. If you are pouring out money because you're having to reheat your home and then it all bleeds out through the roof and then you have to reheat it again, there are grants in there to get it done. It is hidden from you behind a wall of boring-ass text. All done with the understanding that most of us aren't going to waste time looking for it because we don't know it's there. Folks, it's there. This gal did a fantastic job presenting this. This is, telling you true, this is the only video I've seen from her, but it's a hell of an introduction, and expect to see more of Fully Melanated on the channel.
Funding opportunities and assistance programs that you guys can apply to as well. So there's many opportunities that the government has for us, but we just don't take advantage of them because we don't know about them.
She's even got the obligatory pen handy. Oh, kindred spirit right here. Pretty straightforward what you can do. Go on those websites, see if there's money there for you. Just put this phrase in your head. Let me wet my beak. I assure you, wealthy people don't hesitate to take money when it's on the table there for them. They don't care if it's a government grant. They don't care if it's out of your pocket. They're going to wet their beak. Wet your own beak. Let other people know about these links. Spread the word, and consider giving a subscription to Fully Melanated. From what I have seen of her other videos, it's all in the same vein. I am excited that there are more folks out there with this as a focus, actually showing people how they can get change done. Can't recommend her channel enough. I wish her all the best, and you can expect to see more of her here on WYCD Wicked. Oh, no. We got a couple of mentions here I want to point out. Catherine Wolfe talking about the leftist mafia. Yes. Oh, my God. A lot of fun to watch. In my opinion, that's sort of a blowing off steam podcast. It's some of the best content creators working right now, hanging out and cracking heads. I love it. Ooh, that's intriguing. All right, I'm going to skip a bunch of these and address them in a later stream. Patrick Kibido says, I am a corporate slave. I like the money, but I do have to spend most of the day reading and listening to other people. Yeah, I sympathize to anybody who's working in the corporate world. And as much as I love these live streams, I'm calling you guys, the live commenters, the Senate. And I'm calling the folks that are commenting in the VOD, the House. The reason being, there are fewer people in the Senate, and I want to highlight how that works. But that's okay. It's by design. It's all part of the Wicked community, and I hope that we'll be able to build something here where we use things that appear to be problems to our advantage. That is something I am a big fan of. It is all about framing. And I think when you are right, when you ultimately are trying to help people, framing and reframing again can only work to your advantage. And honest discussion can only work to your advantage. Well, it is, of course, time to chop up the show. This has been a super fun two for Tuesday. I got to watch with you guys a bunch of clips I've been champing at the bit to get after. I will, of course, be live tomorrow with y'all again. I can't wait for that. In the meantime, let me know in the comments of these videos what you enjoyed and things you'd like to see. I'm always interested to hear from you. This has been WYCD Wicked. That stands for What You Can Do. My name's Jake.